The Victorian era, spanning from 1837 to 1901, was a time of great innovation and cultural change. However, it was also an era marked by some truly bizarre and often disgusting practices. Here are 9 of the most shocking ones. 1. Victorian death rituals. In Victorian society, mourning the dead was an elaborate and often macabre affair. Widows were expected to wear black mourning clothes for up to 2 years, and it was common to create mementos from the deceased's hair. These hair wreaths and jewelry pieces served as tangible reminders of the departed, often displayed prominently in homes. The practice extended to post-mortem photography, where families would pose with the recently deceased to create a final portrait. This morbid fascination with death was further exemplified by the popularity of seances and spiritualism, where people attempted to communicate with the dead. 2. Victorian beauty rituals. Victorian beauty standards led to some peculiar and hazardous beauty rituals. Arsenic was a popular ingredient in cosmetics used to achieve a pale complexion. Women would also use belladonna drops to dilate their pupils, giving them a doe-eyed look despite the risk of blindness. Corsets were worn tightly to cinch the waist, often causing internal damage and deformities over time. Lead-based makeup was also common, causing severe health issues. These beauty standards reflected the era's restrictive views on women's appearances and roles in society, often putting their health at significant risk. 3. Victorian fashion styles. Fashion in the Victorian era was characterized by elaborate and often impractical styles. Women wore multiple layers of heavy clothing, including petticoats, corsets, and crinolines. These garments restricted movement and posed a fire hazard, as the voluminous skirts could easily catch fire from open flames. Men were not exempt from discomfort, as they wore stiff collars and heavily starched shirts. The fashion industry also relied on toxic dyes and chemicals, exposing workers and wearers to harmful substances. For example, green dresses were dyed with arsenic, leading to poisoning and even death. 4. Victorian sex life and prostitution. Sexual repression was a hallmark of Victorian society, yet prostitution thrived. London alone had thousands of prostitutes, ranging from streetwalkers to high-class courtesans. The double standard was stark. Men often visited brothels while publicly advocating for chastity. Sexually transmitted diseases, especially syphilis, were rampant. The Contagious Diseases Acts allowed police to detain and forcibly examine suspected prostitutes, often leading to further stigmatization and abuse. Additionally, the lack of sexual education and the stigmatization of sexual health issues led to widespread ignorance and suffering. 5. Victorian medical practices. Victorian medicine was a mix of emerging scientific understanding and archaic practices. Bloodletting was a common treatment for many illnesses, based on the belief that it could balance bodily humours. Surgical procedures were performed without anesthesia until the mid-19th century, leading to excruciating pain and high mortality rates. Hygiene during surgeries was also poor, often resulting in deadly infections. Medical quackery was widespread, with dubious treatments and remedies being peddled to desperate patients. For example, snake oil salesmen sold elixirs that claimed to cure everything from headaches to tuberculosis, often with dangerous ingredients like mercury or cocaine. 6. Victorian kings and queens. The lives of Victorian monarchs and their courts were filled with intrigue, excess, and scandal. Queen Victoria herself set the tone for the era, but even she was not immune to the era's strange practices. Royal hygiene was often lacking, with infrequent bathing and the use of heavy perfumes to mask odours. The court was a hotbed of political manoeuvring, and the lives of royals were often marked by arranged marriages, hidden affairs, and public scandals that shocked the nation. For instance, King Edward VII, Victoria's son, was known for his numerous extramarital affairs and decadent lifestyle, which were kept relatively hidden from the public eye. 7. Victorian food. The Victorian diet was a mixture of opulence and deprivation. For the wealthy, meals were elaborate affairs with multiple courses, including meats, pies, and pastries. However, food adulteration was rampant, with harmful substances like chalk, alum, and copper sulfate being added to common foods to improve appearance or extend shelf life. For the poor, food was scarce and often contaminated, leading to widespread malnutrition and foodborne illnesses. Street vendors sold dubious goods, and refrigeration was practically non-existent. Popular dishes included mock turtle soup, made from a calf's head, and jellied eels, reflecting the era's unique culinary preferences. 8. Victorian infrastructure. Infrastructure in the Victorian era was both innovative and appalling. While significant advancements were made, such as the construction of railways and the London Underground, public sanitation lagged far behind. The streets of London were notoriously filthy, with open sewers and rampant pollution from coal smoke. The Great Stink of 1858, caused by the overwhelming stench of untreated sewage in the River Thames, highlighted the dire need for modern sanitation. This event led to the construction of an extensive sewer system, improving public health but underscoring the era's infrastructural deficiencies. Before these improvements, many homes had cesspits that would overflow, creating horrific living conditions. 9. Victorian marriage rituals. Marriage in the Victorian era was often more of a social contract than a romantic union. Arranged marriages were common among the upper classes, with family alliances and dowries playing crucial roles. Divorce was rare and scandalous, with women facing significant social and legal disadvantages. Marital rape was not recognized as a crime, and women's rights within marriage were severely limited. Child marriages, while less common, did occur, and the societal pressure to marry young and produce heirs was immense. Women were often treated as property, and their primary role was to bear children and manage the household. While the Victorian era brought about many advancements, it was also a time of disturbing and often horrifying practices. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe by clicking the right circle, and if you want to explore more, check the left video.